Now we've seen how we can simplify this if statement that you see here in the if file by using nested ifs. There is another way of not necessarily simplifying the statement, but certainly making it work more efficiently, other than asking, as it does now, 3 separate if statements. It asks this if statement, it then asks this if statement, then asks this if statement. And that's totally regardless of if it's already supplied a value to the MSG variable. It will still go through the other criteria. So even if it's the morning, it'll still ask this one and this one. And if it's the evening, it still has to ask these 2. Now there is another way of making sure it only has to go down one route, and that's by using what's called the else if clause. So the else if clause falls within an if statement. Let's do as we've done previously and take this whole sub procedure and paste it in, and we'll call it hello 3, no imagination, and rewrite this whole if statement. So if it's before 12 o'clock, then great, the message becomes good morning Guy. Let's just push things down a bit and use here else if. Now what the else if enables you to do is actually ask another criteria. So this isn't just else, which is effectively the false result of your if clause. This is else if another statement, and that statement will be, of course it's going to complain because I'm half leaving the line, but I'm just coming down to pick this up. Save me a bit of typing. So we ask else if this criteria, then that's when we get our good afternoon, and then I can add my else, where the logical fallout of that is it must be the evening. And the advantage here is this is a much shorter if statement. I lose both of those bits, and only one portion has to execute. Therefore, we're speeding up the sub procedure. It's not speeding up so perceptibly that you'll suddenly feel like you've saved a lot of time, but you have to put yourself in the boat of this being used in a much larger application, where there could be hundreds of lines of code that have to execute between the if and the else if, and between the else if and the else, and between the else and the end if. Here where we're simply assigning a value to a variable, the speed of execution will not be perceptible at all. But the fact that you're only running through this if once instead of here 3 times has got to be seen as a faster and much cleaner way of building your programs. So we ask if it's before 12, then good morning Guy. If that's the case, we drop straight out the end if at the bottom here without having to go through the other portions. Whereas here we have to ask the other 2 questions. If that's not the case, then we come down to else if, and we ask ourselves a second question. If that's true, then we come down to MSG, good afternoon, and then we drop out the end if. If that's not true, then we come to the else. Now there's nothing to actually stop you putting further else ifs in here. So I can come in there and go, okay, let's ask another else if. Else if the hour time is greater than 18 and hour less than 21, then that becomes our good evening. And our else becomes good night. So there's no limit to the amount of else ifs you can place in here that will help reduce the amount of questions you're asking in a separate place. And it's just a way of speeding up the program, because that logically we're asking about the same thing, which is this time element. If it's not that, then we go to else if. Is that? Nope, then we try that else if. If it's not that, then we come out the bottom and use the else. So that's using else if in your if statements. So we have if, condition, then, commands to carry out. Else if, condition, then, commands to carry out. Further else if, condition, then, if required. And then finally an else to say what will happen if none of the else ifs have actually been met. And then end if to end the whole if statement, so that we can then carry on with the rest of our processing.